Today, I would love to share with you why it's so important to speak your truth. This is a time when a lot of people are coming out more as who they are, being more honest about expressing themselves and what they feel to be true. And it's vital to feel free to express ourselves, because when we don't speak our truth, we hold it in and we repress it and we push it down. And some of us as children weren't allowed to speak. We weren't allowed to express our emotions and what we really felt and what we knew to be true. So we learned to really push it down, to repress it. And especially, I think, with women, women often feel afraid of speaking their truth. They feel a really deep-seated fear that they'll be judged, persecuted, misunderstood, I think rejected and abandoned for speaking their truth. And I do think that in terms of gender, women tend to get punished more severely than men do when they choose to speak their truth. So we have these societal expectations and rules, and the reason we might not feel comfortable speaking our truth or expressing ourselves is because we, first of all, don't have the confidence, and we have this fear of saying how we feel or what we know to be true, and we don't trust ourselves. So we don't trust ourselves, and then we also don't trust other people that they'll hear us and that they'll meet us. So there is a trust issue that's also there. So I'm going to walk you through 7 steps to finding and speaking your truth with confidence. And the first step is to know what's true for you. To first admit the truth to yourself. And it sounds simple, but it can actually be quite a process to find our own truth. And I think that when we're not in connection with what's true for us, we're kind of dancing around the shadow, we're dancing around unconscious energy, the pink elephant in the room. You might have a connection or relationship and you're constantly dancing around the truth, but never going into the center of the truth. And so it's important to start to go deep into what's true. And I think the first gateway to discovering that is getting in touch with our felt sense. Your body will always tell you what's true. Your body has an intelligence. So when you feel yourself shutting down or clamping down or getting tense, that's a contraction. It's something to look at and to listen to. And I think 3 of the best ways to start to get in touch with that is with meditation, prayer, and most especially journaling, writing about how you feel and why you might feel that way. So getting in touch with your true feeling and not letting the mind get in the way of, negating your feeling or judging how you feel or making yourself wrong in any way, but just really allowing the expression of your inner feeling. So that's the first step. The second thing is to contemplate what keeps you from speaking the truth. So this is another great exercise with journaling, writing why you're afraid of saying the truth. Was there something that happened when you were a child? Were you shut down? Were you put away? Were you punished for being honest? And are you afraid of what other people think? That they'll think you're stupid or silly or not good enough. So just write them down, and there is a magic action that goes with this, because as you start to write it down, you diffuse its power. So only when fears are buried and out of our conscious awareness do they actually have this power and grip over us. But once you start outing out those fears and writing about them, they no longer have the same level of power on us. So really think about what keeps you from speaking your truth. 3, engage in self-healing and inner work. So one of the best ways that we can self-heal is through self-love and acceptance. So as you start connecting to your truth, speak to yourself in a really encouraging way. Be kind to yourself. Actively love yourself throughout the day every time you start to feel afraid or you start to shut down. A lot of times when we're afraid to speak the truth, there's a block in our physical body. So it shows up as a block. Usually it starts in the solar plexus, it's in the heart and the throat, and it kind of even goes up into the neck and the jaw area. So you'll feel like a clamping in the area where it's kind of pulling down or it's really tight. There isn't a flow that's there. So as you practice self-healing, what I love to teach is these self-healing practices of just really simply as you're meditating or just about to fall asleep, place one hand right up here, kind of close to your neck area, right at the sternum, and one hand right on the solar plexus. And I'll stand up so I can show you that area. It's right here. So you're going to place your hands there and then just send energy and love to those areas and imagine a flow that begins to emerge, a natural flow from the energy of love that you send yourself. And you'll begin to notice as you practice that it starts to loosen and open by itself. So if you feel tight in your center line, kind of work on imagining a flow and opening that area up. Fourthly, so practice speaking your truth. And in the beginning, it feels safer to talk about safe topics. So being honest about topics that maybe aren't as charged, like religion or sex or politics, whatever, gets people really heated. But just start practice speaking your truth. And I mean, this is just in everyday conversations. When somebody asks you how you are, say exactly how you are. Instead of saying, I'm good, I'm fine, thanks, I'm okay. Really try to find new words to express how you feel. And if you're on Facebook, write comments that come like straight from your heart area. How do you feel moved to speak? And just trust yourself. And just start in these small increments. You can also journal about the truth. But and then you can start to work your way up towards, speaking more of your truth with your loved ones, being more of yourself, more of your full self with the people that you love and who are close to you. So that's the 4th step. And the 5th step is to be prepared. When you start speaking your truth and being more of yourself, you might get pushback. You might trigger people. You could make them angry. They could reject you. They could make you wrong. They can judge you. All the stuff that we're scared of, it can happen. So just be prepared that that's a possibility, because that's usually oftentimes what happens when people just start speaking the truth, is that people get mad and they get lit up. And know that that can happen, and respect that this is the experience of other people. Let them have their experience. So if you speak your truth, it's not against people, but if they take it as an offense, you have to let them own that experience. That's their experience. You have no control over their consciousness and how they're going to respond and how they're going to take it. And I think that when you're speaking your truth, you can generally use some basic guidelines. For example, 1, is it true? 2, is it fair? Or is it honoring? Ask if it's honoring. So when you're speaking the truth, some people ask, is it kind? You can use like a basic guideline that, you know, you're speaking from your center. And I think that's another important point, is to learn how to ground and center yourself as you're speaking your truth. You know, trees, they have these big, deep roots that go into the ground, or imagine a mountain that's solid and broad and unmovable. You know, kind of get in touch with these elements of being grounded and centered and solid as you're about to speak your truth, because you could get pushback. And if it happens, don't take it personally. It's not yours to take on. It's not yours to absorb. You got to let people have their own experience. The sixth step is to notice how it feels to speak your truth. So after you've now shared how you truly feel or what you know to be true, get really in touch with how you feel afterwards. You could be a little shaky. It might feel very freeing or expansive. Just be aware of that and do your best not to take on the projections of anyone else. And if it helps you to imagine just water off a duck's back, or just having this protective field around you, but get really in touch with yourself and your emotions. A lot of times people who are afraid of speaking the truth are often very sensitive, empathic people who think about other people's feelings and emotions and well-being more than their own. So they kind of amplify, you know, how are you feeling? Are you okay? And they try to manage other people's feelings over their own. So it's when you don't speak your truth, and when you keep thinking about other people and putting yourself outside of yourself, you're constantly abandoning yourself, and you're constantly betraying yourself in some way, because it's like, I care so much about how you feel and what you think that I'm gonna make myself small so that you don't feel uncomfortable. I want to make you feel comfortable. I want to make you feel at ease. I want to make you feel understood. It doesn't matter if I feel understood. It doesn't matter what I think. It doesn't matter how I feel. So this is just like some of that unconscious patterning that happens underneath. And it's really the soft, sensitive people that need to be speaking their truth more. I mean, that's what we need. So, oh, thank you, Estella. Thanks for the comment. So that's a sixth step. Notice how you feel and how good it feels to be more of yourself. Okay, so you said something. Now there's attrition. These people are leaving your life. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's a good cleansing that's happening. So just notice what it feels like to be more of yourself, more free and being who you are. And then lastly, the seventh step is to practice living and speaking your truth. Be committed to this process. Truth is a vibration. It's an energy. It's a flow. And the more you're connected to this energy, this vibration, the more you see how it works for you in your life. There's an old sutra in the ancient text that says, the yogi who always speaks the truth, that when the yogi says what will happen in the future, it will happen. That's a loose translation. It means that if you're so aligned to the truth that once you live that energy, everything you do and say becomes true. So commit to the path of truth and know that when you're doing that, you're not against anyone. There's no judgment that needs to be there, except for when you judge yourself. There's no judgment, and that every time you choose to share and express who you are, speak your truth, you create that permission for all of the collective consciousness. You put that energy into the whole. And that's what we need more of.